What is the role of religion in our ever-changing world? From the News Channel 5 network, this is Issues of Faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Issues of Faith. Glad you are with us. We are talking about ministry development in the digital age. How do you do outreach and develop ministry in the digital age? What are some of the things being done? Happy to have with us as our guest Reverend Ryan Dunn. He's the Minister of Online Engagement at the United Methodist Communications. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, all right. I want to ask two things. Number one, what exactly is your job? So minister online engagement with United Methodist Communications. What basically do you do?
Yeah, I develop digital content to reach a seeker audience. So I kind of see my role as being a builder of touch points and portals of invitation for people to learn about the United Methodist Church and to hopefully get involved in a local church.
For a seeker audience.
Yes.
So your audience is people who maybe haven't been going to church a lot. You're trying to bring them in.
Yes, that's right. I define it really as people who are spiritually curious, but for whatever reasons have not fully engaged in a faith community, whether they're skeptical or have had some church hurts in the past, or just were not brought up in that tradition and are now curious and looking.
And the other thing, as we frame the conversation, digital ministry. What is digital? When we say digital, you're reaching out in what ways?
Sure, I tend to think of it really in terms of being online, and oftentimes I'll use those terms over each other, digital and online.
And what are some of the ways you reach out online nowadays?
Well, yeah, the big one, of course, is social media, right? So we're utilizing Facebook, TikTok, all the big platforms that are out there, but we haven't gone away from traditional, I guess you call it, traditional web-based presence either. So we're utilizing websites. Podcasting is a new platform, well, somewhat new platform that churches are evolving into and starting to utilize to spread a presence with people both inside and outside the church a little bit more.
Would an individual Methodist church come to you and say, I'm having a question about what we should do, and you help them, or are you for more all of the Methodist church?
Personally, my role is to very much try to be for the denomination, kind of a mouthpiece, or again, a touch point for the denomination. However, something happened in 2020, you may have noticed too, where all of a sudden we had all of these churches who were now forced into the digital ministry realm, not by choice, but by demand, who were now just desperate for ways of building a presence where people actually were, which at that time was simply in the digital realm. So pivoted quite a bit at that time to be a facilitator to help other people build their own presence that they might both keep in contact with their constituents of their congregation or faith community, but also to begin to build some modes of outreach and some ways of meeting people and building relationship through digital means.
I think a lot of churches feel like, and denominations, this is important, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like we all know it's important. We all know people are on Facebook. We know people are on they're listening to podcasts, but how does a church, how does a denomination effectively do this? And so what is your answer to that?
Yeah, to really start with, well, we've kind of defined the why there. We want to be present where people are present. And so then it's to identify the who. Who are you trying to reach? And from there, you can kind of scale it back a little bit. So it gets scary because we look at all these different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, having a web presence. Do we have a blog? Do we have a podcast? Do we try to get into TikTok or Instagram? Well, we can scale all that back by just defining, like, where are our people? The people who we are already in ministry with, where are they gathering in a digital sense? And that's simply where we can start as a church. So, for example, my little church, Glencliff United Methodist Church here in Nashville, our people are not on TikTok. It's a little bit of an older congregation, so when we're talking about building a digital presence, we're not going to go to TikTok. They're not there. They're not going to be sharing our material. Most of them are on Facebook, however, so we've invested in just being a presence on Facebook, seeing how we can get our our current members to start to interact with us, not just to see our material, but to interact and converse with us through that digital means. And then that's how that starts to spread out a little bit. So my first piece of advice is just start small, start where your people are, and see if you can build a little bit of momentum in terms of getting people to interact and have a conversation and a relationship with each other in a digital space.
And something like, I think that's good advice. If you're at a church, maybe your members aren't on TikTok. Maybe that's an overreach.
Yeah.
But here you're also working for a denomination and you're going after seekers. I would think there'd be a lot of seekers potentially on a platform like TikTok.
Yes.
And so what do you know, as somebody that kind of looks at this and studies this, how effective is a medium like TikTok to really bringing people in? Is it something, well, we got to be doing it, and you post something and there's not much engagement? Or are there some numbers that indicate, well, they are here because of TikTok or one of these platforms?
Yeah, that can be really tricky to track. And most of it just kind of comes by word of mouth. So at a local church level, you probably have the luxury of being able to say, hey, what drew you to be with us on this day? You might ask that online or in person if they show up for, say, a Sunday morning service. In terms of a denominational level, it becomes really tough to track if, people are watching something on TikTok and then that transforms into them showing up to a local church for a Sunday morning worship service or a Wednesday night Bible study or something like that. Instead, we just have to engage. We have to measure if people are engaging with our content and assume that then that is leading towards something else. So we look at, are people commenting? Are they sharing the material? Is it getting viewed, first of all? That's very important for us.
I want to delve down into what I want to be able to do is help churches. Maybe there's an individual church watching, and I want to give them some advice, because I think this is such a difficult area. So we'll delve down into what it is you're posting and some of the pitfalls maybe and that kind of thing. But we'll take a break, come back, continue our discussion right after this.